For context, I was 26 years old and I am a lady. I needed gas and it was around 11 p.m. on a Saturday. I pulled into a busy gas station to fill my tank, except it was completely bare, not a single car in sight. I also live in Alaska and it was very cold this night, maybe -10 degrees. Tired after work, just wanting to get home. Usually I start my pump and sit in my car due to the freezing cold, but this time I had a weird feeling that I needed to stand by the pump, so I did. I just started pumping my gas when a little golden sedan pulled up right next to me. A guy got out and I was feeling hyper vigilant for some reason. He started cleaning his completely clean windows. As he put back the squeegee, he started walking towards me. I felt like I wanted to run but stayed calm and continued pumping. He asked me if I would help him put windshield wiper fluid in his car because he ran out and he doesn't know how to open the hood. I laughed it off and told him I didn't know either, which was a lie. He kept getting closer and closer to me while trying to lure me into his car by saying there was something under his seat he can't reach because he is too big. Now I'm 5'2" and petite. This man was large and scruffy. Think Alaska wilderness dude. At this point I'm freaking out and hit the call button on the pump. He took a step back and started to go back to his car. I thought I was being smart. My gas is almost done. I looked in his car when I noticed the insides of the doors had no handles except for the driver door. That freaked me out. I was putting the pump back and opened my door when he was right behind me, slammed my door shut and yelled, "You're coming with me." Obviously I refused. I was petrified. He grabbed my arm and slammed me against my car. I elbowed him as hard as I could and I started to scream at the top of my lungs. Thank God for the gas attendant with the big ass gun that night, because if not for him, I don't know what would have happened. The attendant pulled the video and we made a police report. I called immediately after the guy took off. I never heard anything else about it. I just hope he didn't get some other girl alone. So to the guy with no door handles, let's not meet. I was a 20-year-old young lady working at a popular breakfast restaurant. Most of the staff became very close friends. We all started meeting up at a local bar every week. On the night of the incident, we all went to our normal meeting place, including the manager I had a huge crush on. We had a very fun time and decided to all head to a coworker's house after closing. I had decided earlier not to drink very much because I was driving, but my crush asked me to ride with him. I of course wanted to and decided to leave my car there and he would bring me back a little later. As we were pulling out, he did a burnout in the parking lot. We got about 1.5 miles away and a police car pulled us over. He was arrested and I was told they were taking his car and I needed to walk over to the gas station to call for help. I decided to walk back to my car since it was still pretty close. There was nothing open and it was in the middle of the night at this point. I walked for about 2 minutes before a large black van pulled up with a guy asking me if I needed a ride. I immediately got the creeps and told him no thank you. He kept trying to talk me into the van, but I refused. I watched him looking around as he just continues to drive my walking pace right next to me. This was before cell phones, so I was looking around for any lights while fast-paced walking. I watched as he drove off, feeling relieved, only to see him turn around and drive back by me, then turn around and pull up beside me again. As I was getting pretty close to where my car was, which was all the way in the back of this dark parking lot, he pulls off again, but I watch him turn into the parking lot of a place a little farther than where my car was, and he parked. I decided to make a run for my car. I had my keys ready in my hand, hitting the unlock button the whole way. I seen him pull out slowly, heading towards me as I ran. He had to be thinking, why in the world was I running to the back of a dark, empty parking lot? Because as I jumped in my car and locked the door, he pulls directly in front of me. We make eye contact and he looks shocked. I backed out and flew home. I probably should have called the police, but I didn't. It was about a year later while watching the news, I saw him in his van again. He had kidnapped and murdered a young lady from a Walmart parking lot close to where it had happened to me. I know if I had called the police that night, nothing would have happened to him, but at least it would have been on record. My mom's dog Punkie was a very sweet and loving dog. She was an ESA dog but trained to be a service dog for PTSD before she lost her leg. I had never seen her get aggressive with anyone in the entire 12 years she lived. She never growled or nipped anyone, and she had no sense of smell, so she loved all animals and people. A real gentle giant among our little terriers at 60 pounds. What I'm getting at here was that her barking at something and being aggressive was so wildly uncharacteristic that I only saw it once. I, an 11-year-old girl, was at home with my siblings, my 2-year-old brother and my 6-year-old sister. My then stepdad is at work and my mom ran up to the gas station to grab a pack of cigarettes. It was about a mile or two away from us. For reference, we lived in a 2-bedroom trailer in the middle of the woods on a dead-end road at the time, and you had to really make an effort to get down our road, then to our house, navigate our rickety driveway, and find the door. I'm sitting at my computer having a grand time watching YouTube videos when all of a sudden, all of our dogs, about 2 Boston Terriers and 1 Chihuahua, perk up, bark a few times, and start investigating down the hall. My siblings were napping in the bedroom at the end of the hall at the time, so I figured they just woke up and scared the dogs. But then, Punkie sits up suddenly, stands up on the couch, and puffs her chest out. Her ears are perked up, her fur standing on end, and her tail standing up. Then she barks, loudly. I mean, the bark booms through the living room and echoes around, and all of a sudden she lunges off the couch and goes tearing down the hallway. I'm already on edge because I don't think I've heard her bark, ever. She's a Basenji mix, so her bark is more of a bang sound, but this was big, loud, and an alert bark. I stand up to look down the hallway, ready to fight off what I'm assuming is a shadow monster based on how the dogs are acting, but then I hear it. We didn't get visitors because of how weird our house was location-wise, so my 11-year-old mind had no clue what to do here. The only people who showed up were family, and they didn't knock, so I slowly walked towards the door. The knock drew the attention of the dogs, and they came running back down the hallway, all except for Punkie, and I felt better with 3 of our yapping dogs in the room with me, even if they were all the size of New York City sewer rats. I opened the door just a bit, and standing there on our porch is the sketchiest man I think I've ever seen. I can still picture him perfectly. He was really thin, a taller man with dark hair and a sunken face, bags under his eyes, and this half-managed hair, sort of like he just gave it a quick brush and then figured it was good enough. Everything about him seemed just a little too thin, a little too shallow, and his clothes were all off too. They were nice, but fake nice, you know? Like a clean, newer-looking t-shirt and new jeans, but he had what looked like a suit jacket on. All his clothes were too dark too, despite the fact it was summer in Texas and the weather was definitely into the 100s that day. He also had this plain, unlabeled bottle in his hand. It looked like the label had been covered up and taped over. I stare up at him in confusion because I definitely didn't know this man, and I ask what he wants. He smiles at me in this way that's way too fake, like this exaggerated forced grin, and he spoke in the same voice retail workers do. "Hey there, kiddo. I'm trying to sell this here carpet cleaner." And he shakes the bottle at me. "Mind if I come in and show you how it works?" Alarms are going off in my head because he just seems so off. Looking back with an adult perspective, the fact that he didn't ask if my parents were home is unnerving because he probably knew they weren't and that's why he was there in the first place. I should have told him to get off our property and that I have to go get my mom. Anything except for what I did say, but I didn't. Instead, I just shook my head and said, "No, we don't have carpet." "Well, it works on other things." And he took a big step towards the door and shook the bottle at me. I start to freak out and think to close the door, but the thing is, our front door didn't even lock, so it's basically useless. I'm sure there's something very wrong about to happen, and I'm terrified as to think about what to do in the few seconds I have before it does happen. When all of a sudden, I hear it. Punkie had crept up from the hallway, lowered towards the ground with her teeth bared, and snarling, like she was feral. She had slobber dripping from her mouth, her ears were down, and she was ready to pounce. The guy hears it too, and as I look towards Punkie, she tries to lunge past me and I just barely catch her with my leg as she tries her hardest to duck past me and attack this guy. He freaks out and runs off the porch without another word, booking it down the driveway as I let Punkie out along with the rest of our dogs and they start chasing him. Our small dogs chase him down the driveway and stop about halfway, barking and jumping about. But Punkie stops on the porch and watches him with her ears perked, just staring in the distance until he disappears. I swear I saw someone join up with him running when he got onto the road. The second he disappeared, Punkie's entire body language changed and she went back to being the sweet dog I knew. No barking or growling, just laying around, mouth and throat still covered in slobber. I realize my siblings are still down the hall and run to check on them. And when I get to the bedroom, they are still sleeping, soundly. But the bedroom window was wide open. The curtains were pushed to one side and the items on the dresser in front of the window were all shoved around. Someone had tried to climb through the window, no doubt in my mind about it. From what I can gather, the bedroom window was visible from the couch where Punkie was sleeping. So I think someone was trying to climb through the window before Punkie went after them and scared them off. And the man at the door was meant to distract me. They definitely didn't expect Punkie, a bigger dog, because most of the time she was with my mom inside while our small dogs were the ones that saw the public eye more often. I don't know what they intended to do, but after my mom got home, she took all of us to my aunt's house, and on our way there, we saw the men walking up to someone else's driveway. Men, plural, because we watched the second one split off to wait by the road. So, to the two men apparently going door to door to sell their unlabeled carpet cleaner, I'd rather not meet again.